Hello and welcome back to Deep Sleep Creep's YouTube channel. Today we're going to be listening to 3 more horror stories. If you enjoyed listening to it, please consider commenting and subscribing. So get comfortable and let's begin. I'll never forget the Facebook post that changed my life forever. It was a typical Friday evening, and I was scrolling through my newsfeed, mindlessly liking and commenting on friends' posts. That's when I came across a strange status update from someone I didn't recognize. The post had no text, just a single image attached. Curiosity got the best of me, and I clicked on the thumbnail. The image that greeted me was odd to say the least. It was a dark, grainy photograph of what looked like an abandoned house in the middle of nowhere. The windows were shattered, and the front door was hanging off its hinges. But what truly unnerved me was the figure standing in front of the house. It was a tall, shadowy figure with long, spindly arms and a twisted, contorted body is the best way I could describe it. It was so dark that I couldn't make out any features, but its presence was unnerving. It was as if the figure was staring right through the screen, looking right at me. This shocked and confused me, so I quickly scrolled down to see if anyone else had commented on the post, but there was nothing. No likes, no comments, nothing to suggest that anyone else had seen it. It was as if this post existed solely for me, which I know sounds crazy, but it felt like it was meant for me. Shaken, I decided to click on the profile of the person who had posted it. The profile was empty, devoid of any personal information or photos. It was as if the account had been created solely for this weird post. I jumped out of Facebook and deleted it from my iPhone's history, as I tried to shake off the unease that had settled in my stomach. But that night, I couldn't sleep. The image of that shadowy figure haunted my dreams to the point where I woke up in a cold sweats multiple times. Over the next few days, I couldn't stop thinking about that post. It was as if an invisible thread was pulling me back to it. I tried to rationalize it, thinking it must be some kind of elaborate prank, but deep down, I knew it was something more alarming. What really alarmed me the most is what was going on with my iPhone. My iPhone would glitch, but not like your typical glitches where the phone would just stall for a moment. I'm talking about how it would hijack my wallpaper and display the same weird post that haunted me, no matter how many times I changed it. It seemed like my home screen would get stuck at that image. I received friend requests from accounts with no friends and no photos, all of them named after ominous things like The Watcher or The Observer. My iPhone would also text random people from my contacts, just saying strange things like The Watcher, or random letters like when you use your thumbs to type words without autocorrect. One night I heard a tapping at my window, and when I looked outside, I saw the same shadowy figure from the photograph standing in the distance, its eyes glowing with an unnatural light. I screamed and called the police, but when they arrived there was no trace of anyone. I was freaked out. I didn't understand what was going on or if I was going crazy. After using it for years, I made the tough decision to deactivate my Facebook account, hoping it would put an end to this nightmare. However, that didn't work. The shadowy figure continued to haunt my life. It followed me, appearing in the corners of my vision, always just out of reach and sight. I don't know what that Facebook post was or who posted it, but I've come to believe it was a gateway to something evil. It's a constant reminder that some things are better left unexplored in the darkest corners of the internet. Hackers are everywhere. Even when you don't think it could happen to you, it can. I still don't know if this is paranormal, or if I'm imagining things, or if this was a hacker, and hopefully a full flesh and blood human that I can get arrested. Anyway, just beware what you click on and who you interact with online, because you never know what might be lurking in the digital shadows ready to steal your information. It was a sunny Saturday afternoon when I stumbled upon a listing on the Facebook marketplace that piqued my interest. I had been searching for a vintage record player for weeks, and there it was, a beautiful, fully functional one at an unbelievably low price. I know that should have been my first red flag. The seller's name was Jake, and his profile looked legit, complete with a few positive reviews from previous buyers. I messaged Jake to express my interest in the record player, and he responded almost immediately. He was friendly and eager to make the sale, which made me feel comfortable. We agreed to meet at an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town to make the exchange. Jake explained that he had a storage unit there, and that he'd bring the record player with him. Something about the choice of location felt odd, but I brushed it off, thinking that perhaps he was just looking for a convenient spot to meet. I should have listened to my instincts. Red flag number 2. As I arrived at the desolate warehouse, I noticed that the area was eerily quiet. The building itself was run down, with shattered windows and graffiti covering the walls. Red flag number 3. My unease grew as I parked my car and waited for Jake. Minutes turned into what felt like hours, and just when I was about to leave, a beat-up van pulled up in front of me. The driver's side window rolled down, and there he was, Jake, a tall, scruffy-looking man with a shifty gaze. We both got out of our cars and shook each other's hands, formally introducing ourselves. Jake apologized for being late because he said he had to meet with another customer across town and thanked me for waiting. I felt better when he described why he was late. It calmed me down a bit because that was a real reason for being late. Eventually he handed me the vintage record player and I handed him the cash for the agreed-upon price. Everything seemed fine at first, but then Jake's demeanor suddenly changed. His friendly smile morphed into a sinister grin. "You know," he said, his voice turning from a friendly tone to more sinister, "I've changed my mind. I want more money and you're going to give it to me." Panic coursed through me as I realized the trap I had fallen into. I tried to back away, but the van door suddenly opened and Jake's 2 intimidating-looking friends flashed their guns. Not going to lie, they were big guys. One had a scar on his neck, which freaked me out even more. Fearing for my safety, I reluctantly gave him the extra cash he demanded. As they counted the money, I looked around thinking of my best course of action to escape. Jake looked up from counting my money and asked in a displeased voice, "Is this all you carry?" I stuttered and said, "Yeah, I don't know what else to tell you." Jake grinned and shrugged his shoulders. "No, I don't need you to tell me anything really. I'll just take the whole damn wallet." I reluctantly gave it to him as I noticed his friends slowly raising their guns towards me. Jake grabbed my wallet, opened it with a smile and saw my credit cards and said, "Pleasure doing business with you." With that, they made a quick exit, got into their van and drove off. I was left shaken and humiliated. I felt really embarrassed. How could I have been that stupid? Why was I that stupid? I hear stories like this but didn't think it would happen to me. I later reported the incident to the police, but it was too late. Jake and his accomplices had vanished without a trace, leaving me to grapple with the harsh reality that I had narrowly escaped a potentially life-threatening situation. From that day on, I learned a hard lesson about online transactions and the importance of prioritizing safety above all else. Needless to say, I no longer use Facebook Marketplace anymore. I don't trust it like I don't trust eBay or Craigslist. I will not experience something like that again. I'm a 21-year-old female who's been streaming on Twitch for years. My channel had grown a small but loyal following, mostly consisting of friends and fellow gamers. They'd often ask me to try Facebook Live since it seemed more convenient for them to watch my streams. After some consideration, I decided to give it a shot. The first time I went live on Facebook, I was excited. I set up my gaming rig, adjusted the camera, and hit that Go Live button. The chat started to fill up with friendly faces, and it felt like a virtual reunion. But among the familiar usernames, there was one that caught my eye, Mystery User. I didn't recognize the name, but I figured it was just a new viewer. They typed things that were slightly odd but not alarming, like asking for details about my favorite games and my daily routine. I brushed it off as someone just trying to make conversation and answered his questions. Weeks passed, and I continued to use Facebook Live from my gaming sessions. Mystery User kept showing up in the comments, growing increasingly inquisitive about my life outside of streaming. It was unsettling, but I tried to ignore it. Then came the Facebook messages. Mystery User started sending me messages. It started off innocently enough, trying to make conversation like how my day went. I kept ignoring him because I didn't know him and didn't care to learn about someone virtually online. But the more I ignored the messages, I noticed how irritable he started getting. He said I was the most beautiful-looking woman ever to him, and that I looked so young for my age. I still didn't answer. Then he started texting angry messages calling me names like slut or whore. It then escalated to him saying that someday I was going to die. I don't know why I didn't take that seriously back then. I should have. But what really got me freaked out is when he started sending me images, not any random images. They were pictures of my house, taken from outside. Some of the shots were taken when I was home alone, completely unaware of what was happening outside. Panic began to creep in. I blocked the mystery user profile, thinking it would put an end to the unnerving messages. But it didn't stop. He created new profiles, each time with a slightly different name but the same unsettling messages and images of my house. The tapping sounds started at night, like someone gently tapping on my windows and trying to open it. It wasn't just my imagination. It was real. I called the police multiple times, but they couldn't find any evidence of my stalker. They assured me they'd patrol my area more frequently, but it didn't alleviate my growing fear. I couldn't sleep, and I couldn't focus on anything except the relentless harassment. Then one fateful night, the tapping escalated to a loud, relentless banging. Terrified, I called 911 once again. As I hid in my closet, I could hear glass shattering. The intruder was moving around in my home as glass crushed underneath his footsteps. Thankfully, the police arrived in minutes, but the intruder had vanished into the night, leaving behind a rose on my kitchen countertop. The investigation was thorough, and the police read the messages and saw the images sent by the relentless mystery user. Yet they couldn't trace the messages back to a specific individual, and the stalker remained free. Today, I live in constant fear, wondering when he'll return. I've moved, changed my online presence, and taken every precaution imaginable, but the mystery user is still out there. I tried putting that behind me and move on with my life in college. But I still constantly look over my shoulder, worrying when his next attack will be.